Welcome back to M.T.Pockets.
Yeah.
Good to be back again.
Nearly every other night I take a walk. Every other night I go outside. Would you wanna take a walk with me? If you are going to come along, is there any place you want to be? Maybe we can go and see a show. Go to the movies, go to the movies, go to the movies. See all of the big names on the screen, Lee and Grant and every scene. Everybody wants to be up there. Get some popcorn and a drink. Go right back and get your seat. What a way to kill the day. Go to the movies, go to the movies, go to the movies. If you are going to come along, is there any place you want to be? Maybe we can go and see a show. Go to the movies, 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 go to the movies.
I had decided to do a summer series at the center, and it was going to be this avant-garde, really challenging things, new and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, funding was cut. And so I turned to Joel, who is always the one I turn to when I don't have any money and I need something interesting.
The movie show started as an outdoor movie show, which there's another video you can watch on the Escape Drive-In, but that just got too out of control, and I just couldn't manage it because it was just one person and some my friends helping me put this together. And then for the next 3 years, I showed the films. It became M.T.Pockets at the Free State Brewery, because they had this alley behind the restaurant that they called the Beer Garden. I did that for 3 years, 3 summers there. They built a roof over it and they actually turned it into a nice place, and they included the movie projection plan so I could still show movies. There'd just be this nice movie on the wall with no one watching it, you know. I understand that, you know, that wasn't what the place was for. So that kind of dried out, and once that happened, Charlotte became the producing director of the Wichita Center for the Arts.
And so we kind of kept the money really low, so we never really paid Joel very much. But, you know, because I'm his sister, you know, what could he do? Complain to me?
I do remember I was immediately in love with the project. It seemed to me to combine a great many things. Number one, nostalgia. Those of us who were lucky enough to be around, to be going to school when those educational shorts were shown to us in a serious vein, it brought memories back which were, in my case, of course, extremely fragmentary, not particularly pleasant. But it did suggest a time that was a little less enlightened even than Kansas is now. And it's always good to know there was such a time, you know, when people weren't swinging through the trees, when we were a little more primitive than we are now.
I told a friend in California about this, and she says, it sounds like something that could only come from Berkeley. And I said, well, no, Joel's a Kansas native. He comes from Wichita.
Moving the show inside into an auditorium for me was fantastic. I didn't have to deal with the weather. It didn't rain. It was incredible. And I just had, well, free reign over a theater.
It seemed pretty formal compared to the movie shows here in Lawrence, which are more, I don't know, participatory, or, I don't know, like county fair-like. I don't know. I don't mean that in a negative way, but just because it's homespun. I mean, it's in people's yards, or it's in our yard, or it's out in the country, and there's all kinds of weird things going on, and just has a completely different feel. The center shows are ticketed and it seems more formal.
The M.T.Pockets festivals, I think, really brought back audience participation. You know, you got something out of it. It moved along.
Being introduced to the Sanderson clan when I met Charla, the M.T.Pockets was sort of my introduction to Joel. And, you know, I immediately wondered what the hell I was getting into.
There was the atmosphere in the audience who came there to snicker and sneer and feel superior and have a good time. There was a musical interlude. You didn't have to keep quiet, and if you shrieked and hollered and griped, there wasn't a general feeling you were ruining anything. It was put together to hoot and holler and screech and yell at. The audience was almost as much part of the show as the film was, although I never did agree with those who felt the audience was more of the show than the film was. I always thought the film was the main thing.
It had a childlike quality and an innocence to it that was great, yet kind of a tongue-in-cheek wink behind the scenes.
The most amazing thing was knowing my brother, who is usually kind of shy in front of a crowd, or, you know, that sort of thing. You got to get to know him a little bit more before you find his real humor, would be the amazing transformation from calm, mild-mannered Joel to this outrageous goofball on the stage who told great jokes.
The first Scrappy Drive-Ins, you didn't see me. I hosted it from a microphone. I'd plug in a mic to the projector and you never saw me. Well, one night the mic broke and I had to go out in front of the audience. And I was just a mess. It was a nightmare for me.
Joel would be just beside himself trying to get this whole thing put together. It would just be like, Joel, chill out. It's just supposed to be a relaxed, calm evening. And Joel would just be like on the ceiling, crazed, nervous.
When you go to a party, there's always that one person who wears a lampshade on his head, and that's usually me. So if you're hosting a show, it helps to have something to remove that person from being that person. So it allows me to do anything then, because if I'm wearing a washing machine packing ring on my head or a drink rack for glasses, I wore that on my head a lot. It just makes me so ridiculous that you know, anything can happen.
I'm your fairy godmother. Sure. You don't believe me? Well, that's up to you.
The films were things that you probably would never see, you know, but they were also things that you probably wouldn't go out of your way to see as themselves, but as cut together and edited and put together as a program, it made it really entertaining.
The trouble with showing films at the center is it's like there's a reverence there for the films, which you should have. But that's the last thing I wanted was reverence.
As a projectionist, just you see the qualities of the films, and all of a sudden they're all put together in one. And the sound and everything, it's almost like you wish you could preview the whole thing before you actually did it, you know?
The way I got all these films is in the 80s, film libraries and collections were going to that new thing, video, and they couldn't throw away the film fast enough, and I became the guy in, you know, the Midwest region who would come and pick it up for free. Can you believe it?